a broken heart could be a legitimate cause of death. True or false?
True.
Why?
Suicide.
Short and suicide.
James, do you want to help me? Probably, as a professional psychologist, do you think a broken heart could be a cause for death?
It is actually a cause. It is actually a cause. I want to send African man back to schools and tell him to read on a syndrome called broken heart syndrome. I will not explain that syndrome. I've given you the cue.
No, my friend, I don't know what is happening. Let's ask. You asked me a question, eh? I said yes. And now you're telling me yes, and you're telling me to school. Did you say no? I'm in English. You think this
Well, let's do this. Let's do this in all fairness.
Well. This is the day. Tuesday is the day, and I want to welcome everyone who is viewing us from wherever you are. As I always say, tag along a friend. Amsha wale wanalala, tell them to come and join us. I'm your host, Makomere Gilbert. Today I'll be sitting on the hot seat amongst other fleet of hosts. I know in the background I have Eli Kuyani. I have Mr. Eshuchi himself. Mr. Eshuchi, let me hope leo haujakuja na mistari. Hapa tuko pole pole. Tafadhali, don't take over the show. How are you, Mr. Eshuchi?
I am very fine. Thank you very much, Bwana Gilbert. Leo nimekuja kwa kipole, like a man that I am.
Yo kofia mazee.
Mlisema mimi ni msanii sasa. I don't know how to put on any other cap.
Sawa, continue being kioo cha jamii. And on the other hand, we have James himself from the capital city of Nairobi. Bwana James, vipi?
Poa sana Makomere, how are you?
I'm okay. Leo unaona, leo niko on the hot seat, so sikulemei. Nitakupa space, at least you'll have space to navigate around.
At least today I don't have Ellie to bully me around, which is a good thing. Good to see Esuchi. Umemwita mtu wa mistari. Good to see him bright and ready.
Eshuchi anakuja na mistari, amekuja na Eshuchi bana. Hii creative lakini tutakusamehe. Naona you guys battled out the African man. What happened? The African man is not here. James will not forgive you for battling out the African man.
Gilbert, I think African man took it literally and went back to school. So he will come back. I'm just
hoping he'll not come back with a fee structure that, man, you need to contribute for me because I need to go back to school. And Ellie in the background, man, bring yourself. Nasikia watu wanapiga kelele. Eli Likuyani, where are you, man?
I'm here, and unlike other days, leo nani amenimute? Kuna mtu amenimute ama niko sawa?
No, Eli tumia mikono ndugu. Tumia mikono.
Unlike other days, Leo Gili, you are taking over the hot seat, and I'm more than glad to see how this thing goes because jamaa mistari amekuja mpaka na guitar. So sijui nataka tuanze kupiga mistari because last time actually he was taking over the show with these sweet for nothing words. But then again, the African man has decided, as you said, ameenda kutafuta.
No, but nyinyi si wazuri. Nyinyi watatu. Hakuna vile mtarudisha African man in school without the permission of the viewers, man.
No, I agree.
Nataka
Hata mimi
viewers
I agree,
watumalize.
watu hapa si wazuri.
Yeah, watu hapa si wazuri, and I don't think tutasikizana kwa hiyo, lakini it is what it is. We need to move on. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Thank you our viewers for tuning in today. As I welcome people, man, go to all our media platform. We have Facebook, we have YouTube. Share the link, share to others. Ita kila mtu maze. This is where we are, because leo we are going more a touch not higher, because today, leo, what we are doing, we are educating. We want to know what makes a man, because many times we've been discussing what affects the society, but one thing we have avoided to do, and which we realize we had not done, we had not discussed what makes a man, what contributes to making up a man, so that we have the results we have in men. The different traits, different characters, different personalities, different people we get to see on the street, people we get to meet, and they are behaving differently. We are like, man, what are these men made of? Today we are going to make it plain. We are going to go a little bit educative, but one thing I'm sure will not James assures there are no jargons today. Kindly, we want to
Why
be
me?
plain.
Why me?
Mr. Shuti tafadhali, jaribu English ikuwe very simple, so we
I'm a simple man. I'm just a simple. By the way, jargons zinakuangaza huyu Jemo. Jemo na the African man.
and Eli tafadhali, leo hakuna mistari. Leo tunataka tuambie watu, when you see Eli the way he is, we need to understand Eli was, baba na mama walifikiria, baba na mama wakatenda, baba na mama wakakuza 9 months, wakalea. So kuna stages Eli has gone through as a man. Those stages informs who Eli is.
Even as we try to inform who Eli is, your African man is looking on how to get to your studio. Mwambie alikosa memo.
African man.
We have decided not to bring him on.
It is okay. It is okay. For African man, it is okay. Akisema anataka saa hii ni saa hii.
Bring him in. Bring him in.
I thought African man alikuwa shule. Mlete African man.
Wacha achukue uniform. Wacha achukue uniform kwanza.
So James is validated akisema kwamba African man arudi shule. We understand and we accept, and that's what we are going to do today. We are going to send everyone back to school. We want to understand. We want to know the concept of development. We want to know how human beings develop from, that is stage 0, the stage of imagining, the stage of conception, the stage of an infancy child, as you grow up to an old man until you die. We want to understand what happens that informs a man, because that's where we may be lacking as a society, because when we don't know the process, we confuse the results. And today, on these panelists, we are going to look at development. We are trying to delve into it to understand what happens from a point of conception up to. We'll do 2 shows, this show and next show, so that we get to understand deeply what happens. We want to start with the early development from 0 to like 16, 18, the adolescent level, so that next time we'll be discussing from the adolescent level up to adulthood. We understand what is it that happens when people are growing that informs who they are in in their later life. Because if we understand that way, we'll stop blaming people for the results once we know the process. Because sometimes we might say, because we know the process, we have to excuse you. And today, we are going to look at the stages of development from the period. These are periods that is marked with milestone, which is physical. We have the cognitive development. We have the social emotional development. And I'm happy today on this panel. I have a psychologist. I have a teacher in the house. I have a parent. I have parents, let me say so. And then I have the African man who, according to him, he understands everything that happens in our society.
In the
You cannot
African context.
convince him otherwise. And that's the man I'm waiting, because minus him, the development stages are null and void. And development, according to scholars, those who've gone to school, and they have told us, is a period marked with changes beginning from conception and continuous through life. We develop up to the time we die, because our body cannot be stagnant. Even in death, it will be surprise you that people are still, there are things that are still manifesting. You are like, what happened? And this person ceased the living. Because when you are decomposing, something is happening. And today we want to know what happened from the stage of infancy when let's today's, wacha tusiongelee ile inafanyika kwa tumbo, tuongelee mtoto akishatoka. The stage of infancy, kutoka infancy we move to toddler, hapo katikati ya 2 to 4 years, and then we go to early childhood from 4 to 6, wakati mtoto sasa ana prepare kwenda shule. Oh, and the man here appears. Hey, African man, how
What's
are you,
it?
sir? No, African man, tulia.
How are you?
Kuja
Thank
na
you very
pole.
much.
How are you doing, sir?
Our viewers, thanks. I was shut out, but at least I screamed. You heard me.
No, we were told ulikuwa class. I thought class yako itaisha jioni, but I'm sorry.
Nilikuwa class. Na nimefanya assignment ya kutosha.
Umefanya assignment ya kutosha. Hao wazee hapa wako na maswali for you, because last time alikuambia uende class na ulikuwa unakataa.
Hata ilikuwa mzuri, kumbe mnapendanga kusengenya sana. Hii ni men's day ama women's day? Yaani mnasengenya na polite. Ni hata mpaka amefanya mabisha wangu ametoka amesema sasa ni watu wanakuongelea nini huko. But yes. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for the delay. I think I was looking on a different channel to receive. I had changed, so I was not expecting anything apart from Messenger. Hata hili nimempigia na namba tofauti. So I'm sorry to our viewers, but I'm here. So
you know, you've been keeping us, and Gilbert has been going round and round because of you.
Yeah,
because last time we said you
did.
but anyway, let's just get this started, because African man is here. So Gilbert, as you are leading us through, we will understand the stages. But when exactly do we start identifying with the development stages of a child? And let's start with James. Mwenye ananiambia akona kakitu.
Let James tell us penye anaanzia. James, I think James is going to tell us the cognitive part of development, because with his psychology, I think he better understand this area. But James, try your level best to be as plain as possible.
Sasa mkishaanza, good evening to our viewers. Again, always a pleasure to be here. It's a new season. We are glad to have you. We are glad to have African Man with us, one of the core members of this team. A show can't go on without African Man. So Ellie had to rush and get him away from class to attend this show, and then he... Anyway, no, African Man is our friend. Anyway, coming back, I think it would be important to answer too from the beginning. When we discussed when this season was starting and we were thinking through who is a man, this topic of who is a man, we thought probably at times and most times we take our viewers through the later stages or what manifests, nini huonekana, especially when we keep on talking about this dysfunctional man. We keep on talking about what is the end result rather than starting from the basics. Yeah. So we thought, let's do this. Let's build this man from up, so that by the time we are seeing dysfunctional relationships, by the time we are seeing this man who is depressed, by the time we are seeing this man who can't hold his own, we can be able to look back and say, this might be where the problem started. And like Gilbert tells us, we are privileged that in the panel we have different people from different backgrounds, and we will try and weave this through so that at the end of the two shows, by the end of next week's show, we will be able to see this man from all angles, from the African angle, from an education point of view, from a psychological point of view, even from a parent's point of view. So this is an exciting project, if I may use that word, as we try and build this man and see what happens. So so that I don't sound very academic, I will keep on asking other members to contribute as I weave through this. So these stages, stage one, again from zero, from like our good moderator, Mr. Gilbert tells us, from 0 to around from 0 to 1. And before even I go through this, I am trying very much not to sound academic, but again, when you're talking facts, when you're talking psychology, you have to always credit your sources. So I'll be borrowing heavily from a theory by one Eric Erikson, wenye wanapenda kutake notes, and these two shows will be a bit heavy, but it is okay. We have to build this guy up. So I'll be borrowing heavily from one of the founding fathers of psychology, who was a student of Sigmund Freud. It was called Eric Erikson, and he came up with a theory that's called the Eric Erikson psychosocial development theory. Now, this theory, just to introduce it, holds that each human being, excuse me, each human being will go through 8 stages in life. And these stages, irrespective of geographical location, irrespective of race, irrespective of all other parameters, all people will go through the same kind of stages. Yeah. And this theory also holds that each person is rational. That is the basis of the theory. Each person is rational. Hiyo ni kusema kila binadamu huzaliwa na ability ya kufikiria, ya kukua rational. Yeah. And aspects of culture. And I want, for the sake of African man, so that we do not divert, when I talk culture, I mean where this person grows up, not tribe, not sijui from Funyalu, from sijui Kikuyu land. See your culture. The environment that a person grows up in will shape them into what they will become. Maze nasikia ni kama niko class. Mume pay attention sana hawa panelists. So anyway. So this culture will determine people's emotions and social behavior. So here in your baseline, every man is rational, and the environment or the culture they grow up in will determine their emotions, or how they maneuver through emotions, and their social behavior. Now, why is this important? Because when we keep on talking about, especially in men's den, when we keep on talking about this man who woke up and killed 3 people, we are talking about the behavior, the end result. So let's start by looking at where this all this started. So stage 1, and I think I'll be going through one stage, and then I give one of the panelists a chance to also take us through one of a different aspect of growing up and the same probably milestones that one might meet. So stage one, they call it trust versus mistrust. Again, I would want our viewers to pay keen attention because, again, I know I'm repeating myself, but most of the things that we see in adulthood start from here. So at the tail end, probably at this show 2, we'll be able to look at what did we see huko. So stage 1, trust versus mistrust, this occurs during a very brief period from age 0 to age 1. Now, hii ni muhimu, especially to our viewers who either are parents, because you're parenting, you're having these children. So parents, and also to be able to reflect on us. So 0 to 1, while we think that a child is just there, amelala, hakuna kitu anaona, hajui kuongea, so tunafikiria it's nothing. Tukitaka kufanya matabia tunafanya, juu ni mtoto haelewi. Yeah. So this is a very important stage, trust versus mistrust. And this stage, simply, Erik Erikson tells us, a child's world mtoi yote consists of only two people who the child can trust and people who cannot be trusted. It is as basic as that. Those he can trust and those he cannot trust. Now, the reason why I say it's important, especially now in today's environment, unakumbuka hii ndio ile age, the mother is working, the father is working. So we are, as parents, we are all going out of the house. We are leaving these children with caregivers. And if especially if you live around these our urban centers, we know that this is the stage when we change helps so frequent that before the child gets to age 1, you have had 7 nannies. Unamkanga tu, unataka kwenda job, a nanny has stayed for 2 weeks, unaamka na yeye ameamka amepack, anakuambia anaishia. And then now you have to start reorganizing your schedules. So this age 0 to 1 year, the child is learning either I can trust this person or I cannot trust. How do they learn trust? By consistency. Again, remember, a child at this age has very, very, very basic needs: food, attention, love. So if, again, for example, unfortunately, you have this help who ukitoka hivi nje anabaki akichapa mtoto, ama mtoto analia njaa the whole day, atafidiwa 5 kabla urudi, what are you teaching this? What is the, not even teaching, what is the child internalizing? The child, unfortunately, is being taught, the quote unquote, not to trust. Because this child, remember, they are helpless. They can't voice out except by crying. They can't express themselves. So the needs, the trust is built by basically meeting their basic needs.
I have a question.
Trust, wait. Trust, Ellie, I'm coming to you right now. Trust will be built, even the trust we as adults have, and we've seen these people who they can never trust anyone. So this stage 0 to 1 is when that trust is either built or destroyed. Ellie, shoot your question. Shoot your shot and direct it first to my PA, Mr. African Man, so that it can get to me.
My question is gone. Wacha niachie Lumumba.
Okay, ngoja. So, ngoja. Let me just, wacha tu nijaze. Juu nimesema juu ya food, nimesema juu ya attention, na nimesema juu ya love. There is also the security. Does the child feel safe? So, tuseme, do you have a help who is not careful so that mtoi akitani hivi ameanguka? Sijui akienda kupelekwa hivi amechomeka. Sijui alikanyagishwa wapi ameumia. So that security also is important. There is safety, there is affection, there is comfort, and those are the markers. Those are the markers that will determine whether this child will learn to trust or not to trust. Nimesikia ni kama nimekuwa mwalimu, so I will take a breather.
That's
Nani Gilbert, sorry to interfere, but I see there's some quite engagement in the comment section. I don't know if you want us to look at them before we can
look at
continue with this interesting lecture, because Mwalimu Eshuchi is waiting with his guitar to prepare lesson 2. Can I take the honor, sir? Okay, fine. We have Frida Nguku who tells me, mumeamua leo ni kuvaa yani sawa. We see you looking great, people. Thank you so much, Frida, and for joining the conversation. Nyanduko Nyabuto. Nafikiri nisome pole pole. Looking sharp, you all, but I think in this case it was being directed to Eshuchi. Eshuchi, you're looking good. Norina Mbata, umeona Eshuchi kweli? Eshuchi is the only man being noticed hapa. Kuwa msanii ni raha. Kuwa msanii ni raha. Safety is important. Safety is important, and that's when not Nyokabi, but Nyokabi is one of our own, of course. We have James who is talking about the security of the child when they are left by the nanny or by themselves. Yes, Jamal Muhammad says, yep, security inakuja mbele sana. You see, and that's why we are really concerned when our children are being murdered by people who are supposed to be taking care of them. But that's a story we'll cover in the next segment. Maze Frida Nguku, Eshuchi si anakapo. Okay, nini inaendelea hapa?
Ukiona ingine Eshuchi usisome. Ukiona ingine Eshuchi usisome.
Sawa. Elifinus Nyamoha anasema Eshuchi, I see you. Okay, thank you so much Elifinus. Na kama sijasoma jina lako pole nisamehe. Joy Guitar says tune in and following. Thank you so much Joy for tuning in. We have wewe sasa naona choma pia. Viki na wewe pia unachoma. The light in the house is moto. You guys should recruit me as well. Kwani mimi si mtu. Becca Mbira says, I'm present today. Thank you so much, Becca, for joining the conversation. And who else is here? Okay, tumona Norin sana. Nani mwingine yako kwingine hapa? Julie Mumia says, tuned in. Christine Yegi says, awesome insights. Victoria Nkata tells me, Allah. I don't know who is giving you the Allah moment. We have Kagodi Mwirumi who says, wow, that's a dream though. That is when we are talking about what makes a man. And we have Eden Olesaidimu who says cute. Carol Kenya says tuned in. Wakeji Kamore tells me, I like what you have started, building the man from bottom up sort of conversation. Major bottom ups, by the way. African man must be conversant with that. Zena Hussein, ladies and gentlemen, waguzi. Wanaume wote ndani ya nyumba leo wanadanshi. Wanadanshi sana. Zena na Kiswahili chako jamani watufanya ile kitu. Ati sana, thank you so much for coming back once again. Matasio, angalia chini sana. We want to see you. Angalia watu wewe. Look front in the camera. Victor Owiti, is this the same Owiti? Producer mkali, mtu wa vitu moto moto. Karibu sana ndani ya Eshuchi Lumumba, you look sharp, I'm tuned. Asanteni wote, he says. And wewe soma comment ya Matasi. Matasi tumeifanyia ile kitu. Christine Yegi says, awesome insights guys, and kudos to you people. And we have Pretty Ivy who says, such an awesome conversation. Where? Let's come to the next ones as we proceed with the conversation. But for the moment, we just want to pay a few bills here and there. And I'm told if you haven't read the book Gifted, then you need to read it because it's one interesting book by Kevin Tindi. We'll be back in a moment and we proceed with the other stages of development when it comes to matters children. And my co-host for the night, Makomere, will take us through the next step. Whenever we speak of great achievers, we tend to use phrases like they've come from far, they started from the bottom, or they did a lot to get to where they are. Lifted on kevintini.com. And we are back, and the men's den is full. Remember, you can watch these conversations every single Tuesday on Art in Heart and Facebook and YouTube. Makomere Gilbert, tuendelee na kazi.
Thank you. Thank you, Ellie. Thank you, James. As we mindful of time, thank you for the good introduction. However much you went academic, but I'm sure you made the point very clear using the Erickson theory of development. And after we've understood how a kid becomes, what a kid develops into, what surrounds them, what shapes them, we'll want to know from, after developing trust, after a kid gaining confidence around people, gaining attachment, what happens when this kid now moves to school?
Probably,
And we'll have
I don't know,
our own-
Esuchi.
Yes.
Sorry, just Esuchi,
Yes,
allow
James?
me. I don't know if I'm ambushing you, but allow me. I wanted my thinking would be you would want to take up this child from when they go into school. So I should do the second stage because the second stage is year 1 to 3. What do you think?
Okay.
Yeah, it will be good as we
Yeah.
wait for a shoot.
That sounds good.
As we wait
So,
for a
so
shoot, you want to do the second stage, please.
So the first stage yenye nimesema ni 0 to 1 year, and it's titled just trust versus mistrust, and we've talked about the trust and how you either build or break trust. Yeah. So the second stage, according to this theory of Erik Erikson, is called autonomy versus shame. Now, autonomy, again, to just try and break it down a little bit, autonomy simply means independence. Yeah. So this is where the child either develops the ability to be independent or they pick up shame. They start believing that they are not good enough, that they can't, those people who are always doubting themselves, they start believing that there'll always be better people. They start believing they are not good enough. Yeah, all that. So this is the stage, these feelings either, remember, I'm looking at both the positive and the negative. So the positive would be what we are calling autonomous or autonomy, or what we are calling independence, while the negative comes the shame. So how is that developed? So we start by saying, naturally, remember where we started. Erik Erikson holds that every person is born with a rationale. They are able to think independently. So in this stage, autonomy versus shame, the child learns to view themselves as capable individuals. Anaweza. That is the primary instinct. I can do this. Yeah. So you either foster that, you either empower that they can, or you kill it. And it's important for us to note that when we are killing this autonomy or independence, most often we're not doing it intentionally. At times we're not even conscious of it. We do not know that we are doing it. Yeah. But you kill it by starting to make the child doubt their abilities. Sasa nataka turudi tena, especially for those of us who have either children or nieces, or we've lived around children. Yeah. If you look at this stage, 1 to 3 years, that's when the child is on a self-discovery path. Yeah. So even though they cannot be able to hold the cup, they want to hold the cup. Even though they cannot feed themselves, they want to feed themselves. And we've seen the wanamwaga chakula everywhere. They smear on all their faces. They want to make the table. Yeah. But they are making things fall. So if the parent constantly reprimands, wewe wacha, unaharibu, you can't do this, what you're doing is you're making the child internalize that they are not capable. Again, remember, this is not a stage where the child has learned how to be expressive. They cannot voice out their feelings. They cannot rationally debate with you and tell you, hapana, nilikuwa nataka kufanya hivi. So they will try through actions, and mostly through observing. So they see the mother spreading the bed, and they try and spread the bed, or they see the mother tying the laces, and because you're in a rush, they are trying to tie the laces. Wanambia wewe ni mtoto huwezi. So rather than help them tie the laces, you internalize for them the fact that they are not able to. So you do it for them. what simply you're doing? Ellie, you're already raising your hand. Do you want to go back to school?
To be
Okay,
honest,
Ellie,
I'm
yes.
interested to actually ask a bit of a question. And tonight, I'm actually not sitting here as the guy always throwing
No,
questions from the journalistic
Say
side,
you have
but as a
swapped.
parent.
You've swapped roles with African man. So we will allow you.
Well, my question is this, James, and of course to the rest of the
Yes.
panelists, because I believe most of you haven't engaged yet. We realize we are talking about the growth between 0 to 1 and then progressing to the age 3. And this is the age most parents, especially the female parents, will be raising this child exclusively because of the needs surrounding that. My question is then, where is the role of the father in this particular scenario? How do you then involve yourself to make sure that you actually actively involved in the raising of this child, that they can feel secure, they can feel you appreciate their efforts in doing stuff? Because most of the times the parent who is supposed to be the father anaenda shughuli zake. Some of us have been accused to be sperm donors, for lack of better words. Some of us are just but end month pay billers. So how do we get involved, African man, from the African perspective? I would like to find out.
You are asking me a single question, or you want to report from the school? Kama unanipatia show niambia sasa ongea, ama unataka kuuliza swali moja nikujibu alafu
No. I so that we don't lose our viewers, I beg, Ellie, I beg that you allow me just 1 minute to complete on that, and then we allow now the response to the question. Because I was just one sentence. So we've said this child will either internalize autonomy, yes, or shame. So children, and again, remember, this is the age where the child consistently tries to prove themselves. So they will keep on forcing to try and do things, even though they are doing, for lack of a better word, even though they are doing these things in the wrong manner. So they will keep on trying. So children who are allowed to express themselves in action now, to express themselves, and they are corrected rather than reprimanded, they start viewing themselves as competent. They start viewing themselves as independent. And we've seen such people who wanakuanga tu roho juu. It doesn't matter whether they are wrong or they are right. They are just, and later on in life it comes, I think in show 2 or 3, we will be able to see this trait, how it manifests later on in life. Because these are the people who will push. It doesn't matter whether they got an A in school or a D+. It doesn't matter whether they are sweeping the streets or they're in offices. These are people who wamejiamini. Unajuanga wale watu roho juu. It is because from that early age they were taught, or they internalized the fact that they can do this. So where one will not work, they will try route B. Route B will not work, they will try route C. Unlike somebody who has internalized the shame, and any small hiccup on the way, they recoil and start feeling ashamed that they can't. So this is another important, and now I know I've taken up all the show, so I'll keep quiet now. But this is another important stage, remember, autonomy or independence versus shame. And again, I know I keep on saying I'll shut up. But for those of us, especially in this urban setting, who you leave your child with the help and you go to work, it is very important to try and figure out how does your help treat your child. Because again, there is the tendency, kwa sababu mtoto anataka kushinda akijaribu kufanya vitu, na he or she is messing, the nanny will want to reprimand so that they get free time. So mtoto akiachiwa afanye vitu, amemwaga sijui uji pande ile, paint walls sijui na nini, so the likelihood is they will be reprimanded by the help, because the help wants some quiet time. So it's important, even as we leave our children at the care of our these very important people who help us in raising these children, it is important to try and get an understanding of how do they actually coexist when you're not there. because unaweza kuwa you're doing the best you can, but your child is internalizing very negative thoughts. And with that, Gilbert, ukiona nimeongea tena unanimute. I have taken
Thank
up.
you, James. Thank you, James, because we allowed you a lot of time to explain that, because if we don't understand the first and the second stage of, like you said, if you are applying the Erikson theory of development, we'll get lost when we are delving into other stages. And from there, we have the preschool and the school age. And this is where a child moves to initiative versus guilt and industry versus inferiority. And we have our teacher, our able teacher, Mr. Eshuchi, who from experience, he can help us understand that stage. How is it managed? Welcome, Mr. Eshuchi.
I think he's mute.
Okay, I am here now. I hope everyone can hear me perfectly. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Everyone looks sharp, and thank you for the lovely comments from our viewers over there. My name is Eshuchi Lumumba, and I'm a musician and a teacher, as you can see the badge down there. But today I want to wear the teacher title more. Thank you very much, James, for just giving us an insight on the psychological aspects of this development. My perspective is going to come from two main sources, and one of them, of course, will be observation, and the second will be, of course, opinions derived from the observation, because most of you do not know what kind of a teacher I am. Well, I teach a range of students, but I have a special interest in the early years stages, because I think for far too long, and I think it could be an African culture, if not precisely a Kenyan culture, there is a tendency to imagine that the education of a child is a lot more important as they progress. But I would tell anyone without fear of any contradiction, if I were to change policies around education, I would invest more on the formative years, because a lot happens here. And that is what people keep missing out. So you want to save all the money for when your child will get to high school. You want to save all the money, all the resources for when your child will get to university. But you're forgetting that your child needs the best when they're just beginning. So I'll give you a quick observational. And I was looking at this area in a discrepancy kind of a way. So I was not just looking at the child's development, but I was looking at the boy's development versus the girl development. And that for me was going to give me perspective as to why we probably can pick out on characters that are based mostly attached to boys and those that are attached to girls. There's a big tendency, this will be a discussion for another day, and I'm not putting it out there so that people can start up another debate altogether. There's a big saying that goes around the streets, and it's almost been normalized, that girls mature faster than men. Whether or not that is true, we'll leave that to psychology for the future. But this is my observation at a very young stage when it comes. First of all, I will back up James' perspective. Consistency is everything for a child. And I think consistency starts missing when parenting is not done as a unit. And by parenting being tackled as a unit, in my opinion, means every stakeholder has to plug into the syllabus of parenting. That means if this child has a nanny, if this child has a driver, if this child has a teacher, if this child has a mother and a father, they need to be reading from the same script. Because what you don't realize is we overlook the levels of intellect of a child, but children are some of the biggest manipulators that exist. And children always know where to push the envelope. So at every given point, you'll find a child who knows that, okay, if mommy doesn't give me this, if I go to daddy, I'm going to get this. If dad doesn't give me this, my teacher, because my teacher wants to please my parent, and as a teacher, I've conflicted so much with parents on this, because there is also the aspect of, okay, I didn't get this from my teacher, I can tell you on that. And you pick these inconsistencies from very little statements that children make. If a child can come to you as a teacher and tell you, I will tell mommy or daddy, or I will tell mommy to do this and that. If a child tells you as a mother that I'm going to tell daddy, well, I could be overlooking, but these little statements start telling you things. I have interacted with a lot of students, and maybe for just analogy, I'll give you an example of a child who once told me that, you know what, mommy said that once she says, no asking daddy, and daddy said that once he says, no asking mommy. And one thing I could pick here is very clean consistency. This is a child who knows if mommy said no, it's no all over. If daddy says no, it's no all over. So the moment you create consistency around a child, then a child understands that we have to operate on a standard existence. So at the age of 5, I'm going to pick 5 to around 7 years. What I've noticed about this period is this period makes the development in a girl is a lot faster because her cognitive and observational abilities are very visible. A girl is able to speak a lot faster. Maybe her social skills are better. She's able to express herself through emotions a lot better. Better than a boy. And of course, that is where you want to get people imagining that perhaps the development rate of a boy here is a little longer. But education will tell you that boys catch up later. And at this particular point, then you start having boys who have these innate abilities that they are unable to share. The guilt that James was talking about, the shame that James was talking about. And then you see parents sometimes and teachers with the lack of understanding would come at a child and be like, you know what? She's your age mate and she's able to do this. Why are you not able to do this? It is a very biological thing because the interests of a boy at this age and the interests of a girl at this age are very divergent. A girl wants to impress. A girl wants to go there and do some nice poetry. A girl wants to sing. Do you know what a boy wants to do? He just wants to jump around. He wants to go on top of a tree. The testosterone is very high. He's getting very competitive. And that is the part of a boy that I think we tend to avoid. And one day, just one day, I will bring up a very controversial debate because I've thought about this for so long. And my question has always been, are we sure that our early years approach to education is not biased for the girl child as opposed to the boy child? And don't get me wrong, because I'm going to ask you this very simple question. The African man is here. Tell me, how do boys sit? How do boys want to sit? So when you keep telling a boy, sit properly. When you keep telling a boy, shed in the box. When you keep telling a boy, keep quiet. I'm not saying he should be chaotic, but there should be some level of you appreciating that the energies in a man's world are more than those in a female's world. And especially at that level, men can't talk more, boys can't talk more as much as girls at that age. And their way to express things is by, first of all, being very competitive. That's when the ego kicks in. I want to be the fastest runner. I want to climb the tallest tree. I want to be able to beat up people. You know, you need to moderate that, but you need to have space for that, for you to get a wholesome man. Otherwise, you end up with a man whose essence of being a man was suppressed or really confined in a manner that made him, the ideal for society, but not the best for him. That is, I would take that up about until that particular stage, and perhaps so that I don't take so much time, someone else would need to kick in.
Wow, Malime Shuchi, that's great, man. Allah, you introduce another topic there. That's the problem when you give teachers a a platform, they'll always take over the chance and make you be the student now. Thank you, Shuchi, for that. And considerate of time, we'll shelve the other stage, which is the adolescent, because there's something Shuchi was still explaining on school age. I think in the next show, he'll finish it and we'll move to adolescent. And before we move on with the show, I'll welcome Ellie to take us through the next segment because time is not with us and we need to move with speed.
Wow, you see how people get away with murder. They just massacre everybody else and then they ask their advocate to come and handle things. It's all right. This is what teachers do at their best. Saizi nitaona nazunguka na haki yetu, mnataka mshahara end of the month. But having said that, let's just, sorry, I'm moving all along with my cameras here and there. Questions that I would like for us to discuss. And the first question I asked, and I would like the African man to respond, if you want me to go over it again, and I know we are really out of time, but African man, where does the father or the male figure of a child comes into play in that very delicate age of a child, where we expect the mother to have almost full control of the baby's well-being?
Yeah, thank you very much, our viewers. I see everybody has been calling me an African man and introduced, but talking from an early age educator perspective, as what we call in Dutch pedagogisch medewerker, and that is like a primary school teacher. Going to that, also a youth teacher, a normal college teacher, and also a student of farmers of thought for those who know Joshua Mapanga. Now, I will put it in a nutshell because, and linking it to the role of the man in this child's life. First of all, let us look at the child in a few stages, in three important stages for you as a father, for you as a male in the vicinity of a child. And this is not only for the fathers alone. This is for bigger brothers. This is for any male in a family. Because when we say from African perspective, a child is raised by the community. And I agree with you when you talked about the culture. I'm not even going to go there. I agree with your point. I understand culture means not Kikuyu, not Luya, not what, but the surrounding. I agree with you there. So there are two important stages for you as a male figure in the life of a child. From age 0 to 4, just remember you are bonding with another human being. Just put the word bonding. That's all you have to do. So when you are bonding with a baby, how do you behave when you want to bond with the baby? When you want to feel, you understand? So that time, I know the baby mamas and all will stress you with napkins and all that and shopping and stuff. But my friend, focus on bonding, 0 to 4. Then we come to 4 to 13. 4 to 13, now you are being a mirror. Because this kid is going through a stage of imitation. Whatever happens, he will imitate. They will always learn from imitating. They can watch cartoons, and if you are not careful in this age, they will start to imitate the wrong things. They may not imitate in front of you. So, and then the last stage, which is more important, is from 13 to 21. They start to be opinionated. That's how they're developed. They start to have a mind of their own, choices of their own. Then you will hear all the rights. Things they have been not telling you when they were 10, they will tell you when they get 14, when they will punish them. Yeah. So when you know those from this perspective, then you know an African man in this perspective, first of all, it's asking from you 3 important things. If you are a figure in a child's life, yours, your brothers, your sister, at that age, remember your bonding. There is a spiritual connection going on because it is about the trust. If you're holding the baby, you also learning how to hold the baby. What will be happen to yourself if this baby fell down? You'll be even so guilty you could even commit suicide. You understand? So when you know all that, then what you come to, don't fight with life. Don't fight with fatherhood. Just remember this. Your job is to give them wings and watch them fly. give them wings, and watch them fly. I know you have had a lot of my colleagues here becoming philosophers and theorists until we are like, we are in old talk. It looks like our children are a problem. Now, that's the way you know there's this. But just remember this. The most important thing you learn as a male figure in a child's life, the first thing is you will learn to listen. Because you'll be listening to somebody who doesn't know how to talk until they will know how to talk. So you have to listen with everything that you can have. Just understanding what's going on. Yeah. The next thing, I give you a summary. There are about 11 things you should know as an African man who is participating in raising a child. Now, those 11 things. The first one I told you, learn to listen. The second one is don't hide your mistakes. Make mistakes in front of them. However good father or mother you want, to be, don't hide your mistake. So that they make mistakes as they watch. Yeah. So then the next important thing is let them make a mess. Let them make mistakes. Let them paint on the wall. Come home and find one time they have paid. Yes.
Matasio, my walls are very expensive. What are you talking about?
Let me go on.
Eshuchi, I'm sorry, but Eshuchi, do you agree with the painting part?
I didn't interrupt anyone. I didn't interrupt.
Let him finish. Let him finish.
Guys. No, for once, I am agreeing 100% with African man. So we are disagree nini?
Students listening.
I am agreeing with you.
Four, because listeners also want to know. Number 5, spend time with them outside. Because your home area where you live together with the child is a culture, as he said, that's very different when they are outside there. So for the first time a child is outside, he needs you to know, even if it's getting out of your car and going to the supermarket, that world is not your world at home. So take them outside, and then teach them gratitude when you're out. You know, when you see something good, this is good. Now, all those things you talked about, don't make the mistake. It's all these. These are just basic things you can do as a man. Yeah. And then remember, often praise them. Because at this age, all these 4 ages, kids are really asking if they're making mistakes or they're doing correct. So please don't be this father who curses a child 50 times and then only says, nice, when they bring him water to fun. You are Number 8, and remember, have fun with the kids. Have fun with the kids. Have fun with your kids. The next thing, teach them compassion. Teach them compassion at early age, because actually that's the key to spirituality. Kids have to feel from themselves that something is wrong. So you have to really know how to teach them compassion. Yeah. And then the most one, show them love and help them. The last one, help them understand their emotions and how to manage them. Help them understand. Even if you know you're spoiling them, a father, just let them know that sometimes when they say no is no. You can cry, but you will cry and shut up one day. But Papa is not buying you telephone this time. Klar. You understand? So I finished my point there. And just remember, your job as an African man is to give them wings and watch them fly. Don't even try to help them fly. Watch, give, and watch. That's the African perspective I wanted to tell to you people. So you can shoot your challenge if you have questions or challenge, because then the time is sharing. I am done.
I have to go first. I agree with African man 112%. I think he was in school. Akichelewa ilikuwa ametoka shule. So it is okay. It is okay. We understand. By the way, I think what you present is, in a nutshell, the whole essence of what we are doing. Yeah. So from my perspective, I think, if anything, the two theories marry. At one point, they marry, because I have listened to you, and I think probably the teacher will tell us their perspective, but I'm in agreement.
Yeah, I agree with you too, and I've written some things that when you are talking with, if you would have not told me this. I agree with you on that part of autonomy versus force, autonomy versus shame. I agree with
Yeah.
you because a lot of my examples were there because that's really the core of raising the children. For example, it is, do they take responsibility of their mistakes? That's why I say, let them paint the wall. It is a million, but then they will know that day they painted the wall. Somehow it touched daddy, and he knows what it is to paint the wall. And they'll say, yes, that it's me who painted the wall. But what if you come home, you don't know who painted the wall, and they will never tell you. And what do you think your children are at that moment? You leave two boys in the house. They come to you, one of them painted, and however you tell them, nobody tells you it is.
I think African man. There's also I agree with you. Probably not 112 as James does. I agree with you to a particular extent. I think you mentioned the inside world and the outside world. So perhaps we also need to understand that a balance between the two worlds is very important. Because when a child is okay painting your wall and then they walk into a neighbor's car and write 1 all the way to 20 on a neighbor's car, because daddy is okay with me doing that in the house,
No,
then
when he is afraid to make that mistake in your eyes, he will do at the neighbors.
No,
okay.
I think
Because by
Esuchi,
the
I
time
think
he
what
reaches to paint on the wall, he must have at least one day dropped a glass of milk. First mistake. That's where it all lies. When that first mistake happens, are they free to accept their mistake, take responsibility, talk about it, and pay the consequences, if any?
Esuchi, I think African.
My friend, Napo is 0 to 4. Eh? We're talking about age 0 to 4.
Yes.
Wewe unaanza
I think
ashafika 6 years, ashachora kwa neighbor huko, ashakataa, ameshakimbia hata ajili hapa kwa zinga.
I think Esuchi, so that we don't lose this point. Esuchi, so that we don't lose this point. I think what I get from African man, and I've said I agree with him 112, when your child paints the wall, and this is just an analogy for any mistake that they can make, it is important that we allow the children to make mistakes and use them as learning opportunities.
Exactly.
I think the problem would come if they are not learning.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. I agree with you that it's okay to have children make mistakes, but I also want to contravene the fact that they need to know when they are making mistakes, so that a mistake is pegged to a consequence. Even if you're not going to physically punish them, they should know that the consequence of this act is this. And of course, we'll go back to theories. You remember the classical conditioning? So they know that I associate this kind of outcome with this kind of pain or pleasure. That way, the mistakes can make a lot more sense. See tu eti bana wewe paka rangi everywhere unataka bana. Nitakuifinya.
Because I am hearing, wait. I am hearing us talk a lot about the children. And you are really avoiding us. Remember, in as much as I say, let them make mistakes, I also tell parents, accept to make mistakes in front of them. So you have to be also responsible because they're
out of time, gentlemen. Out of time. We must really.
No, why are you cutting out African man? African man is
being late.
African man, your train of thoughts are in order.
So now I've learned. I'll come on time next time.
Next time,
thanks, our viewers. Bye.
I need to say this, and I'm talking from a parent's perspective. I agree with you that we must allow these children to take the canvas and, learn from it and do whatever they have to do from it. Because at the end of the day, it's a learning stage and they must go through it. As you've said and correctly put it, Matasio, we need to know when it's a mistake and how we correct that mistake. Bottom line is, we've talked about handling the mistake. The question is not punishing, because sometimes these words are misused. I learned in another forum that we are not punishing the children because that's like administering a criminal correction on children. But in this case, we only but correct the mistake. Let's not punish for the mistake, but let's correct the mistake. That's my parting shot.
I think you, Ellie. I do want to weigh in because I wanted to get the perspective from the professionals around, and from my perspective, I'll say what they have said is true. Where we are arguing and trying to disagree is when we fail to provide a platform for these kids to grow. When there is lack, when there are gaps, that's where you'll be like, these kids behaves better than this. Now that is where the difference comes in. As parents, what are our roles in these stages? How do we come in? Do we know our part? Do we play our part, or we leave our part to the teachers and to the world? As we have seen and heard from explanation of these stages, from the infancy to early childhood to preschool to school age, next time when we'll be moving to adolescent. As we move to adolescent, what is it that the kid has gotten from infancy to school age? How have you contributed? If you've not done your part, when they are moving to identity and role confusion, that is where you start now realizing, like, this kid is behaving this way. Why is this kid behaving this way? It's because as a society and as parents in this kid's life, we have not done our part, or we have done our part. So my parting shot, the parents who are here, ask yourself, have you done your part? Thank you.
Probably just my parting shot would be, I think I like the direction that this discussion is taking, because we are getting very different perspectives from different professionals, and there is no wrong perspective. There is no wrong perspective. All we are trying to do is marry all this into one, so that we can focus on the core topic of the man. Yeah. And I would want to remind us all that the focus is primarily on the development of the man, so that by the tail end of these episodes, we can look back and say, when we see a man behaving this way, when we see a man having multiple sexual partners, what happened? Is it natural? Is it something conscious? Is it something that they are out there doing with all, So I am glad, because we are able to look at the African perspective, look at it from the school-going context, look at it from a psychological perspective. At the tail end, we will marry all this and build up this man, these two men, who one we can say, this is the kind of man we want in society, while the other one will say, this man is behaving dysfunctionally, quote unquote. I'm very careful when I use that word, because it is dysfunctional according to who? According to society, according to whose expectations. Yeah. So I think I like the direction we are taking. I would rather have more episodes than rush through so that we finish, because my hope and aim would be we carry along all our viewers so that they clearly understand, when a man is 12 years old, this, whatever symptoms or whatever manifestations, behavioral manifestations we are seeing, may spell danger by the time they are reaching adolescence, for example. I usually tell parents, and I know I take a lot of time talking, so Ellie, I can see the eyes you're giving me. But I usually tell parents, for example, especially for boys, when you start having problems around Form 2, that is a powder keg. Form 2, ka suspension ka kwanza, you're being called to schools, mischief here and there, that's already a big indicator that things are not okay. And if some things are not done at that stage, then we have problematic men later on in life. So I like the way we are going. I would encourage our viewers to call in their friends, subscribe, watchers, tune in next time, so that we pick up from where we've left. Thank you.
Definitely, we call it a night. For those who just joined in, remember you can follow this conversation every single Tuesday on the Arts in Heart on Facebook and YouTube, the Arts in Heart Official. The name is Against All Odds on Sunday. On Tuesday, it is what we call the Man's Den. Wednesday, what is the girl's talk? And remember to join Frida Nguku and Norina Mbata, because tomorrow they are asking what I want from my man, the same man we are trying to build today. So remember, all these conversations happening every single Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Until next time, I leave you with Lisa, who tells me nipende watu wanapendana sasa ama nipe yote. That's the name of the title. See you and good night.
Haya mapenzi kama bahari nazama, acha yanipige, nimeshakuwa mapenzi la huyu mvulana, sijui nifanyeje, unanishangaza tamu sweet minankolea, unaniliwaza jinsi mambo unavonipea, najisi tamu inavyoingia, ni kama keki ya vanilla, na nikwambie jinsi najisikia, nikiikosa nitalia, na jinsi tamu inavyoingia, ni kama keki ya vanilla, na nikwambie jinsi najisikia, nikiikosa nitalia. Nataka kidogo, nipe tena, nataka kidogo, nipe tena, nataka kidogo, nipe tena, nataka kidogo, nipe tena.